All right, welcome back to another Crypto Vagabonds Q&A. As every event and everything we produce, we have to have a disclaimer. Nothing that we say ever in any platform, anywhere, is to be taken as financial, legal, or tax advice. All of our content is for informational, educational purpose only. And of course, this Q&A occurs every Wednesday at 1 p.m. Eastern Time. And if you want to interact with me and ask more questions on a regular basis, I'm in Clubhouse Monday to Friday at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. And of course, you're always welcome to come and see us on YouTube. But again, not financial, would be found here. Now, as most people in the crew, they have some kind of focus or some kind of expertise. My main focus is risk aversion, and I'm known as a risk-averse guy. And the reason for that is because I do have a law. If there's a doubt, there's no doubt. Meaning, if I have a doubt about an investment, I will not move forward with the investment. So today is Crypto of the Month, and we're going to be talking about USDC. And we're going to first cover what is USDC, what are the pros of USDC, and what are the risks. And of course, USDC is issued by Circle. So what is USDC? USDC is a stablecoin. It's supposed to remain pegged one-to-one with a dollar. Stablecoins are digital currencies that are tied to other assets, not necessarily just the US dollar. USDC in particular is tied to the dollar, but stablecoins, they could be tied to something else, meaning they're pegged to something else. Now, as we already mentioned, USDC is supposed to remain pegged one-to-one with the US dollar, meaning one USDC equal $1. I think I skip one. So now, I think I just one presentation. Okay, there we go. Now let's look at the USDC, and it is the second most dominant stablecoin. As you can see here on this graph, USDC is the orange, USDT is the most dominant one with the blue, and then you have BUSD, which shares a smaller portion of the market. And you can see here, USDT, which is third in the market cap, and you can see here in the fifth place, you see USD, which is a very dominant one, is the second place in stable coins, but it's fifth in coin market cap. Now, it is issued by a company located in the US, Boston. So the question is, who does issue? Where is located the company? It is located in the US. It is created by an alliance between Coinbase and Circle. The two companies together are responsible for the creation, issuance, and security of the USDC. And you can see here, Coinbase and Circle announced the launch of USDC, or the digital dollar. So those companies are the ones that secure and make sure they control the issuance of USDC. And of course, it's launched as ERC20 on the Ethereum blockchain, at least initially. And now let's look at the reserves. The reserves of, there's a little insight here, sorry. The reserves of USDC, and you can see here USDC in circulation and the USDC in reserve in the banks in black. So it's supposed to be one-to-one collateralized, and the insurance and redemption that it is here on the side. So it has insurance, it has been collateralized, and it is regulated in the US. And you can see here more reserves. The Circle Reserves Fund is SEC registered, which means they are registered with the SEC, no problems there. And they hold short-dated US treasuries. And this is the part that I like most about their collateral. For those who do not know, treasuries can have long-term maturation and short-term maturation. And the last time we checked, they do have short-term treasuries such as 3 months, meaning they're not as volatile to interest rates. The interest rates going higher decrease the value of those treasuries that has long maturity. So a short maturity means less volatility, and it is considered to be cash equivalent. They also have reverse repo. So one thing that we see on the reserves, they don't have actually dollars in bank accounts. They have reserves, and they did have dollars in some accounts, and we saw what happened when the bank collapsed. they depegged. So what are the pros of USDC? High speed of transaction, that is something which is very good. If you try to on-ramp or if you try to buy crypto with fiat, you may run into the problem of speed. Some bank transfers nowadays in the US has taken, I have actually one client that one single bank transfer took 3 months to go through, and that is within the same country. So once you have stable coins, you can move in and out of any crypto with very rapid speed. It takes a few seconds for you to have settlement of the transaction instead of waiting days, hours, or weeks if you do that with a fiat currency. So speed for the transaction is something really positive once you use stablecoin. And again, the speed is not only into USDC. Most stablecoins would have an increased speed on transactions. And so far, it has been very low volatility for the USDC. We can see here the graph. It went to 97 cents. Remember, it's supposed to hold 1-to-1, and you can see sometimes it goes higher than $1, sometimes goes lower. The lowest has been so far 97 cents. There was a period of the peg where it went below that, but it was an extraordinary event where the bank was collapsing and the reserves were being held by that bank. Another great pros is it works not just on ERC20, it works in several blockchains. It works on Algorand, Solana, Ethereum, Hetera, Avalanche, Flow, Stellar, and Tron. So you can see here, it is available in 8 different blockchains, and that availability in different blockchains means availability in different decentralized finance platforms, or that I like to call democratized finance platforms. So many platforms exist in different blockchains. The more blockchains that you have your stablecoins available, the more use you have for that cryptocurrency in different platforms of DeFi. So high speed is a great plus, and of course, being available in different blockchains also helps. And it is backed by a very big exchange. Coinbase is the biggest exchange on the market. So once Coinbase is behind it, it gives a certain degree of security to USDC. So those are the pros. And you have seen here other partnerships as well. They have partnership with Visa. They have get access to Fed IRP via block partnership, Robinhood, MasterCard. So once they are backed by Coinbase, they start to get more and more partnerships. And the other thing which is on their side is transparency. They're pretty transparent on, because they are on different blockchains, you can go, you can audit, and the transparency of the project is available to you. And you see transparency not only on the blockchain, you also see transparency on the traditional side. You can see here Circle and the reserve report, where they are audited and they make the audit results available. So they're providing transparency not just on the blockchain side, but also on the traditional side. And you see more here. They have been audited regularly, and those reports are made available. And they're being audited mainly by Grant Thornton, which is a company that audits. And again, whatever results of those audits are made available. So I would say it's pretty solid from the perspective of being audited, being transparent. It is respecting the principles of the space, which is transparency. And I do again like the fact that their assets, their treasury, has a very short maturation, which means it's not as vulnerable to volatility such as high or low interest rates. And reserves are in cash. And again, short-term reserve bonds, all of those are pros. Here we have the report on maturation bills, and you can see here the maturities are just a few months away. You can see here maturation on month 4, month 6, month 11, month 4, month 5. So every maturation is just a month, or every month there's a maturation on their assets. Sorry, I was mistaken the date with the month. So you can see here, April and May. So if those are the pros, we need to go and also look for the risk. Remember, risk-averse guy. The biggest risk that I see with this is they don't have their own blockchain, right? It is a token, so it is not a coin. They don't have their own blockchain, which means they're subject to whatever happened in other blockchains. My other point of failure to me, which makes it vulnerable, is the reserves are in the US, and you know the US is being declaring more on crypto. So the US can freeze accounts and can attack banks that may have holding the reserves of the USDC. We have seen that with Signature Bank. Signature Bank was a bank that had nothing wrong with it except helping the crypto space. And if you want to find out more about how Signature Bank was not doing anything wrong, there was not an issue with liquidity, there was no issue of solvency, there'll be a link above for the video where you can see what actually happened with Signature Bank. So the fact that everything for USDC is located in the US, I see as a problem. We have seen that Coinbase is already considering to leave the US because of the very harsh regulation on cryptocurrencies. And again, we mentioned before, I'm going to mention again, it has depegged in the past. Here, of course, we only see the 97 cents, but it has depegged greatly before because of the collapse of the banks. You can see here, 2023, this was the biggest depeg, again, because the bank where some of the reserves were being held was being attacked. You can see here, headlines, Circular USDC stablecoin, break peg with 3.3 billion stuck in the Silicon Valley Bank. So I know people may say they should have $101 to the reserves. Okay, the question is where to store your dollars. Where are you going to store 3.3 billion? Most companies are going to do that in a bank, and if the bank gets into trouble, that money may not be there. And remember, the FDIC only secures, or only supposed to secure, up to 250,000. So if USDC wants to be full and still benefit from this insurance of the FDIC, they will have to distribute several accounts via several banks to enjoy security. So once you put anything above 250,000 on a bank, you are vulnerable to whatever may happen to the bank, and they were vulnerable to the situation with the Silicon Valley. So those are the weakness and the cons. You see more here. DAI also was affected by the same thing. Now, of course, once that happened, the circulation has decreased since the depeg. And here is something that can be considered negative or positive. I think more USDC coming out of circulation, that means better, because if you have a stable coin that has 67 billion in market cap, that's very vulnerable. If you have a stable coin that only has 3 or 4 billion circulating, that is a problem easier to solve. So even though the decrease shows a lack of trust, which of course is negative, there is a little positive, which is the less you have in circulation, the easier it is for you to protect or to cover whatever vulnerability has happened there. And again, we mentioned about the circulation decrease that has happened because of the Silicon Valley fiasco. And the same thing here. You see more on the same. The fiasco with the banks is causing the depeg, and that's the vulnerability of USDC. Another one with that, pretty much the same. So let's recap. We cover what is USDC, we cover what are the pros, and we cover what are the risks. We do have more on this on the Vault of the Academy. This is just a small presentation where I can share a few things that happens on the Academy here at YouTube. So what is USDC? What are the pros and cons? If you want to find out more, if you want to know much more about this particular cryptocurrency or more, consider subscribing to our Academy. We have an academy called the Crypto Vagabonds Academy. And of course, in there, we take those subjects into much more depth. And with that, I finished the presentation and handle the floor to you guys, and I stop sharing my screen. And we got a full house again, 18 people here today.
I have a question here, actually two. You say that they have to secure the money in a place, right? So we always end up in a bank. Is that another place that can secure the money instead of banks to avoid that kind of things?
Yes, there is. But the problem is it's difficult to do it, right? So you can use cryptocurrencies, like you can actually, in the case of the US dollar, because in their case, they need to have that US dollar. There's a hedge fund in Switzerland that was willing to build his own bank, his own vault, and his own security to secure billions that he has of the fund. You can also do that. You can actually get piles of cash and secure and pay for security and storage yourself. That's one option. You may run into some, of course, bureaucracy and legal problems. That's one thing. You can also get what I call over collateralization. You can get metal, you can get gold. And let's say, for instance, I have, let's put it here, I have 10 billion in gold, and I decide to issue only 6 billion of the coin. So I have 40% over collateralization. The price of gold has to drop in 40% before I can possibly run into a problem. That would be another way to do it. And then you can be the self-custodian of your gold. So there are different options. They're just not easy to be implemented. Another way you can do it is you have your stablecoin backed by BTC. And I think a lot of people are already working on that. And of course, I first answer how to secure the fiat, such as dollar, gold, but you can also have a stablecoin secured by BTC. There is a few projects trying to do that. I think once that is successful, we can actually have a stablecoin. I was researching a few months ago. There was this guy who came with a very good formula. And his formula was this. You have one BTC, and back then BTC was $20,000. So let's say you have BTC at $20,000. His idea was to long and short BTC at the same time. So let's say, for instance, I want to issue $20,000 of stablecoins. What I do is I keep 10,000 in BTC, which is half BTC, and the other half I'm shorting BTC, right? So if BTC goes up, I lose on my shorting. It doesn't matter because I'm holding the other half here. Now, if the price of BTC collapse, I am making whatever it collapse on the short, right? So that would be another option in which you can have a stable coin where half of the capital you long an asset such as BTC, and the other half of the capital you short BTC. So in that sense, you have pretty much always you have the value of your stable coin there. I would say if you add that to like a 15% over collateral. So let's say, for instance, I have one BTC, but I only issue 85% of that BTC in stablecoin, right? And then it makes for whatever happens with the long and the short. Those will be other options for you to have a stablecoin is still pegged to the dollar, and without having to rely on like ways to delegate that to the bank, and you still hold an asset that would be able to compensate and make. Because the idea of the collateral is if there is a need for a cash out, you must be able to pay, right?
Yeah.
Does it make sense, Rodrigo?
Yeah, makes sense. And another question, just curiosity, how does Circle make money? They charge a fee when you convert fiat to, do you know that?
So those are the questions that is hard to answer, right? Because if you're not making money, what you're doing is you are issuing more currency than what you have back up. None of those companies can answer that question, like how do you make money? Right? Maybe they have some Coinbase. I can see how Coinbase makes money. If Coinbase is backing up USDC and you make money on the transaction fees of your own currency, that makes sense. How Circle makes money, I don't know. I can see how Coinbase can benefit from it. The fees on Coinbase are very high. It's one of the highest fees that I see in the market. So that would be the only answer. Now, I don't see, like, once you have question marks about how they make money, you shouldn't trust, right? And that's the biggest issue. They have to make money with fees and an agreement with the exchange. So. Any more questions? I know, Sugar, if you have any questions, please shoot whatever questions you may have. I know you may be going through the materials on Academy, so please.
Hi, sorry, my dog is squeaking her toy. Hopefully he won't during my question. I have a question about Ledger. actually. Is that appropriate to ask
Yes, it
at this
is.
time? Okay,
Yes.
because what's going on with Ledger, because I remember you were opposed to it a little bit a few months ago when we spoke for the very reason as to what happened yesterday. So can you kind of give some color and clarity to my husband? Because I couldn't really explain to him what I was listening in Twitter spaces.
Yeah. Well, in
And
a few
so-
hours, okay, in a few hours, we're going to have a video explaining this, but I can also, of course, break it up here. The thing is this, I never liked Ledger. And the reason why I never liked Ledger is because the crypto space to me has a philosophy and it has principles and laws. And the crypto space is a very simple space. It only has two laws. Law number one, not your keys, not your crypto. Law number two, do not trust, verify. And because the number two, Ledger has never been transparent. There's a portions of Ledger which is not transparent. I cannot verify. If I can't verify, I can't trust. That was my main issue. They're violating, and I'm not sure if I mentioned to you, but I used to mention like how long it's going to be before they violate the second principle. Because if you're not respecting one, how long will it be before you violate the second one? And everyone said, "Oh, you are being emotional. You are like emotionally attached to Trezor." That's okay. So let's see. And what happened now is they're violating the second principle. So what they're doing is they're offering to people the possibility to have their seed phrase linked to their biometrics, right? So, and when you do that, you violate another principle. One is you are giving that seed to somebody else, and you're also attaching the biometric of that person to that seed phrase. And here's the issue. You violate privacy, right? Because the whole point of the crypto space is like, it should enable you to be private, right? Now, when you give your face and your biometrics and you attach that to your seed phrase, it's undisputable your wallet and your privacy has been violated. The way they are doing is they are breaking your seed into three, and any two can be will be enough to recover your funds. The issue is they're giving those seed phrases to companies. And when you try to do that, it is impossible to do that securely. And the issues are the following. First issue, should they be transparent as which companies are holding your seed phrase? And you can say, yes, it should be transparent. Okay, then those companies and those individuals become targets of hackers because the hackers hacked two companies and they successfully obtained your seed phrase, they got your funds. And it's okay, then let's not be transparent. Let's make those companies private and nobody knows who those companies are. Okay, now you have a problem. Who own those companies? Who run those companies? Are they attached to the government? And you don't know the integrity of how, you don't know who's behind those companies. So it is impossible to do securely. My biggest concern is regardless of being transparent on the company or not being transparent on the company, given the fact that the US is declaring war on crypto. So imagine here, let's say Rodrigo is one of the companies that is securing the seed phrase. And let's say, for instance, Georgi is securing the other ones. Are those people going to go to jail for you? Meaning if the government signs a subpoena and say, listen, you need to give the seed phrase, we need to confiscate this money, we're going to outlaw cold storage, either give me those seed phrases or you go to jail. Do you trust those companies to go to jail for you? So it is really a bad move. I can understand the motivation, which is to make crypto user-friendly. But again, if you make it user-friendly, at what cost? So I don't really appreciate or admire that. Does it answer you, Sugar? Does it make sense to you guys?
Yeah, both. I have a question about that. So that being an option, okay, for you to choose if you want to do it or not, it's still a problem because even if you don't want to do it, do you think they can do it? Something behind it?
Look, my biggest issue with the lack of transparency that they had was this. Let's say you are Ledger, Rodrigo, and you are the coder for Ledger. Okay, so now you are the company. If the US government comes to you and says, listen, I want you to put an update there, that gives up those seed phrases because we are making cold storage illegal, what you would do? Would you go to jail for the company? Will you go to jail for your users?
Yeah, I know what I mean.
Whenever there's no transparency and I cannot verify, and a company is subject to the government, I don't know any owner of any company that will go to jail for their clients. I don't know that person, right? Does it make sense? Go ahead, Sugar. Yeah.
So my question is the conversation yesterday, and I remember between going from Ledger to Treasure was if you do have Nano Ledger X, to make sure you turn off the Bluetooth. If you do not upgrade yourself to whatever it is they're asking you to, is the Ledger still secure for the moment until we transfer from Ledger to Treasure, is my question.
I would say transfer as soon as you can, because
so when are you free for private?
Okay, we can, Mia can see when we are free to do that, because again, I never liked the fact that they were not transparent, and it doesn't surprise me that they're doing this move now, right? I'm really not surprised. If you violate one principle, you're gonna violate another one, right? It's like if someone steals $1, right? They're gonna steal 2. They're gonna steal 10,000. They're gonna steal 100,000. You're not gonna stop. So if you already start from the point where you violate one principle, it's a matter of time before you violate the other principles. So I never trust or thought that Ledger was secure, though. It's better than nothing for those people who have a Ledger, but I'll say move to Trezor. Now, just to make clear, I also made a video about Trezor. I think it was yesterday, was today, Cora, that came out. That video was today or yesterday?
It was today.
Was today. Somebody bought Trezor not directly from the manufacturer and they lost their money. And I actually showed the image. Someone literally bought a Trezor, opened a Trezor, tamper with the hardware, close it, seal it, and start to sell. Someone bought not from the manufacturer and they lost their money. So people hear me saying those things and think I'm paranoid. Like, I'm not paranoid. I just know what the risks are and try to prevent people from getting to those traps. Mia can check when we have an appointment. We can move your funds from the Ledger to.
I'll drop you.
Yeah.
Girl, you better ask them to do yours too, since you part of the academy. And then you can
RBG?
show me.
Hello, RBG? You talking to us? Or you have a mic? Notorious?
Sorry again.
You had a hot mic? Okay, I think she had a hot mic. Okay. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I kind of predicted today was going to be all about Ledger. The video is already with Cora, and you guys going to see that on our channel, though. Go ahead, Sugar. I think you're muted.
Hey, Boof, I've got taking a step back, more of a macro question. And I apologize if the question is a bit archaic and more traditional. Maybe it's not the right question to ask. I've been thinking about usage and types of usage. For example, Bitcoin, all the Bitcoin that's out there and being traded. I'm trying to get in my head an idea of a pie chart, like how much of the Bitcoin usage is for speculators, for example, just trading in and out, like shorting or otherwise. What percentage is used for actual commerce? Procurement or a good or a service. What percentage is, people just sending funds to their family overseas? And how has that pie chart changed over time? Is it more and more for the use of commerce? Does it matter? Do you think a coin, even Bitcoin is more stable or better when more of it being used for commerce versus speculators? What are your thoughts on that?
Okay, so I love your question. The first thing we need to acknowledge is there's more Bitcoin being used than Bitcoins into existence. And I know for most people this may sound strange, so I'm going to explain. When you go to Binance, when you go to Coinbase, when you go to Kraken, whatever exchange, and you look there, your balance 1 BTC. That BTC does not exist. That is literally digits on the screen of the exchange, and the exchange is not required to have that BTC. I think someone made a research another few months ago, and he found that 60% of all BTC in circulation is fake BTC. The only real BTC is the one in cold storage, the one that is verifiable on the blockchain or verifiable on your app on your phone, right? If you cannot verify on the site like blockchain.info or blockchain.com, anything that is not verifiable there, it is just fake BTC. It's not real BTC. So I would say from that approach, we can pretty much safely say that more than half of BTC is just speculation, and it's not even real. So they're using, it's the same thing like when you buy paper gold on stocks, it doesn't mean that there's gold for that paper. It's just like fairy tale Mickey Mouse gold in circulation, right? Now, once you verify on the blockchain, I think last week I saw a report where we just crossed now in 2023 over 1 million wallets having 1 BTC. That means individuals, and I have coached some of them, they're like, I want to have 1 BTC locked for my children, and I'm never going to touch it. That's for my future savings. I don't care what happens to me financially. I want to have 1 BTC. There's a lot of that. And the fact that we have now over 1 million wallets with 1 BTC tells me that there's a great amount of people that are using BTC as that. Like, I want to hold this for 20, 30 years. I want to give to my children. Like that type of thing, like a sense of responsibility to our offspring, or a sense of responsibility to your future. I know some individuals that bought BTC when they were young, before their 20s, and they say like, this is my retirement money. I don't need this until I'm 60, right? So I think that is one use case. And I would say the fact that we have just 1 million wallets with more than 1 BTC on individual level suggests that that is one usage that we start to have. So out of the 19 million, you can say maybe 0.5% is being used as future savings, right? And then you can start to like investigate on the blockchain more data. There is a site called Glassnode where we can speculate that data and be able to determine like what is the usage. To me, the best usage is not really commerce. The best usage right now, it is what I call, it's not a store of value, but a store of sovereignty, right? Like my reason for entering BTC is sovereignty. I don't care about the price. I really don't. My point of entry was $200. Even if it goes to $300, $100, I don't care. The reason why I bought BTC was not because I want to make money with BTC, but because I want to be sovereign. I want to be able to transact and not want to be able to freeze, block my transaction. And I think in the long term, that sovereignty is going to become more valuable. So that's my bet. I'm not betting on BTC making me rich. I am betting on sovereignty becoming valuable as government overreach. I think that's the biggest use case for BTC. Like, I really wish that 80% of the use case of BTC was sovereignty in terms of individual level. Now, there are some characteristics of BTC that to me makes a great reserve currency. As fate drops on the US dollar. So imagine this, imagine, I don't know, let's say Rodrigo is the political leader of Brazil, Cora is the political leader of Venezuela, Mia is the political leader of Russia, and we want to transact, right? And we need to trust. Now, let's say I'm here being the political leader of Portugal, I'm transacting with Rodrigo in Brazil. Now I'm trusting Rodrigo not to alter the ledger. And I'm saying this because look at the BRICS. The BRICS are trying to create a currency because the US has abused their power of the reserve currency. My assessment is you don't need to create a BRICS currency. Any sovereign nation can use BTC transaction, and they can be guaranteed that no one is going to alter those ledger, block, seize, or confiscate their reserves. So I think that is one other use that I see growing faster. Like, I think it's going to be a matter of time before other countries, not just El Salvador, sees the potential of, listen, I want to transact with Russia. Should I use the BRICS currency? Should I use the Chinese yuan? Or should I use the dollar that already has been violated? And if any political leader asks that question honestly, the only scapegoat they're going to find, well, why can't we just use BTC? Is the one transaction that's never going to be violated. So I think that's another great use case for BTC. And that use case is going to grow faster than individuals using for sovereignty. I'm not sure if it addresses your question. I hope.
That's perfect. Thank you. The out of the box response was, you know what? It's sovereignty, which is the best value. Thank you.
Yeah. I really don't care about commerce. I really don't, or values. I know it's there and it's like uncorruptible. That's to me the biggest value. Any more question? Anyone? The ledger explanation makes sense to you guys, Sugar?
Yes. What was your, wait, what did you say?
The explanation I gave to you on ledger,
Yeah.
does that make sense to both of you guys?
Yes, yes, that was
Okay.
perfect. I was trying to, I hadn't had money in my quote unquote Coinbase or exchanges because obviously, you know, everyone said get your money off the exchanges. But I came to purchase, you know, for a fundraiser, I wanted to purchase a project that was in and around mental health, and I wanted to support them. And I had a really hard time. First of all, I tried to use MoonPay so I didn't have money in my account because, you know, I just didn't think I needed to keep anything in there for a while. And so I tried to use MoonPay to purchase this project's NFTs, right? And of course, the Chase Bank declined the transaction, and I called them and they said, oh, Chase Bank, JP Morgan Chase doesn't, you know, doesn't allow cryptocurrency to, you know, you can't do this transaction. And I'm like, the hypocrisy, I said to him. I said, I can pull up 90 articles right now, how they're in cryptocurrency. How are you even saying this to me? So I hung up. I tried using Transact to purchase the NFT project, and then Bank of America wouldn't even see the transaction. So then I'm like, twice we ran it and that didn't work. So then the head of the project said, why don't you just put money in Coinbase and just go through Coinbase? Well, then Coinbase froze my money for 3 days. So I couldn't, so they had to purchase the project on my behalf and then drop it in my wallet later once I was able to like pay them. So when you say that, you know, right now US is behaving in the way it's behaving regarding all of this crypto stuff, but the people who own Coinbase is BlackRock. So I'm very confused as to if Coinbase is no longer going to be allowed in United States. It's owned by the United States. So I don't get, I mean, isn't BlackRock US like, and owns everything globally? So I'm very confused about this. And then, so how much money should I also have in my Coinbase account that I'm willing to like, I mean, I know you're not going to tell me that, whatever you're willing to lose, right? But to have as a safe keep for just certain, like this was the first NFT project after 2 years that I was ready and trying to buy and kind of knew what I was doing. But this happened to me. And this whole onboarding thing, this is why it's hard. And this is why it turns everybody off and they don't want to go through all these, like it took 4 hours for me to just purchase a project I wanted to support for mental health. It's ridiculous.
Yeah,
So anyway,
here's what happens. The record of me trying to get a bank transfer to an exchange is 3 months. 3 months. Over 90 days, me and a client, we were trying to make a transfer within the same nation. If you want to have crypto ready for you to buy anything, you don't need to have in Coinbase. You can have on your Trezor. right? You can have stablecoins here, and once you have stablecoins or any other crypto, you can go to the centralized exchanges and transact from this little device. And I think the worst case scenario that I had of someone trying to transact stablecoins into any NFT was 30 minutes, 25 to 30 minutes. So you do not need to have on Coinbase. You can easily have that on your Trezor. And if I'm not mistaken, you guys do have a Trezor because we call it, yeah. So this is the place where you want to have it all. You can use the exchange to acquire as an on-ramp, and as soon as available to you, off-ramp, right? So this is the device that you can use and have everything here. For instance, I am heavily on stablecoins because I think the price of BTC will collapse. And last year, I was very privileged to buy at 15 point, I think it was like 15.8, just below 16,000. But I had sold a huge chunk of my BTC at 32 because I saw the first collapse. No financial advice, I'm just sharing what I did. You do with your money. But that's the bet I took. And I could buy some at 15.8. And I also bought that for some other clients. And we're expecting the recession to hit and the price to go down. If it doesn't happen, fine. If it does happen, I'm going to get more BTC for half of the price that I sold. So, but you want to have, if you want to be interacting with crypto, you can have everything on your cold storage. Now, about Coinbase and the war on crypto, we can rephrase this and say there's a war on civilians having crypto, right? Because those institutions, they want to have dominion over the people. So if you become sovereign, you are not good to the system. So BlackRock, JP Morgan, all those guys, they can have all the crypto, they can have all the BTC, but what they do not want is for you to opt out of the system. So you can see the war on crypto as a war on sovereignty. So it's not so much that they don't want cryptocurrencies, they want to be able to control it. I think what's going to happen in the future, they're going to outlaw cold storage, and they're going to say, you give all your crypto to us, and we will protect you by giving you this CBDC. That's what I think is going to happen. So it's not so much a war on crypto, it's a war on their civilians using this instrument as an opt-out or instrument of sovereignty. That to me is another way to look at this. Does that answer you, Sugar?
Yes, and one last question. So would it be true if the Ripple case, the SEC lost the Ripple case? Is it then true that Ripple and all the ISO coins are going to make these transactions much faster if Ripple actually does come into play?
Ripple has the potential to do this, but I don't see Ripple surviving without, as we say, selling their stock. They are a company, they are individuals, right? And they have kind of accommodate a lot of government institutions, not just in US, but other countries with their system. So it is still a company, it still can be overridden by a company. I think in the long term, they're very likely to win simply because of all the partnerships that they have accumulated. Does it make sense? So I think I think this little decision for the judge is one thing against the SEC, but I think in the long run, Ripple may win the case because they are partnering with other institutions as well, not just in the US, but globally.
And my final question is, do you need to have multiple? So at some point, a lot of us had multiple ledgers. One was for NFT, one was for crypto, this, that, and the other. Is it go the same for Trezor? Like if let's say you're holding something, you have that on one Trezor, and then do you have, if you want to just do transactions on another Trezor, or is one enough?
So it depends on what you want to do, and depends also on your level of sophistication. So for instance, I have several. As you can see here, and I also have brand new ones. I distribute my points of attack. So this is one way you can have several, but also what you can do is, and again, I don't recommend you to do this if you do not know what you're doing. You can also have a passphrase So for instance, with the Trezor, what you can do is you can create a passphrase. What's a passphrase? Your seed phrase is 24 or 12 words, right? And what a passphrase is another word that you attach to that. So for instance, and I do this for experimental, when I'm coaching clients, like, listen, let's create, so you can see how passphrase works. Let's create another wallet with the name Mickey Mouse, right? Which is a very common name. And then we just use that for fun. And then we change the name. But you can create Mickey Mouse, you can create Star, you can create Soul, you can create whatever extra word to that. And you can put it there, symbols, numbers, you can create whatever you want as an extra passphrase. And if you do that on a Trezor, what is going to happen is you have one device, but you have several accounts. There's no limit to how many accounts you can have here. And what is beautiful with that is even if they brute force your Trezor and get all the seed phrase or whatever, because there's some claim on a hackathon that was possible, a passphrase is unhackable. It's impossible to hack a passphrase. So you can either have several devices with different, or several passphrases. I use a combination of both. So some of my Trezors, I have 3 or 4 passphrases. Other Trezors I just use without a passphrase for something simple. It depends on how much I'm storing. Most of my Trezors have a passphrase, regardless of the account. So it depends on your level of sophistication. If you are comfortable with passphrases, use passphrases. If you're not comfortable with passphrases, use several Trezors. Now, make sure if you use passphrase, you're really comfortable. One of the biggest things that happened with me is I received calls of people that use a passphrase, they lost a passphrase, and they lost all their funds. And I actually have a software that I developed to brute force passphrases, and I have a server from a friend that from time to time I use him, and we use a massive amount of computers, pretty much a hotel room filled with computers to brute force passphrases. So if you know someone who lost their passphrase, you can contact me and I may be able to help. And on that case, I would say 80% of the cases I can recover, 20% I can't. So, but it also depends on the passphrase. And my fee is 50% of the recovery amount. So if someone lost 100 grand and I managed to recover, I'm going to charge 50% of whatever I managed to recover. So do not use passphrase if you do not know what you're doing and you're not really comfortable with the space. I think if you're a beginner, just get plenty Trezors and you can put a sticker on them and label them for what they are. And that's one way to do it. Does it answer you, Sugar?
Yes, thank you so much.
And if you forget everything I say here, remember one thing: do not use passphrase unless you really know what you're doing, because a lot of people lose their funds with passphrases though. And today, I want to also thank Evelyn. Evelyn shared with us a video on Ledger. Thank you for that, Evelyn. Yeah. Last night at 2 in the morning, I record a video about Trezor, and this morning I wake up to a Ledger upgrade that is horrible, to say the least, like just horrible. Any more questions? Anyone?
Yeah, I've got one. So if we have a ledger, let's say either it's gone bad, it doesn't work anymore, or we just want to then transfer and use a Trezor instead, is there a particular thing we do, or do we just plug that into the computer and then use the seed phrase of the old ledger to the Trezor, and that's it? Okay, so here's another issue. Ledger has always advertised themselves and saying that the closed source portion of them, which is the microchip, they say that the microchip has no ability or capacity to share the seed phrase. Now, they create an upgrade that if you do the upgrade, the microchip can share that seed phrase. So that to me says that Ledger
is lying, or at least the trust has been broken. So if you do want to change from a ledger to a Trezor, I would highly recommend to get a new seed phrase altogether, because at this point, once trust has been broken, I'd rather not take any risks, right? So I would say get a new seed phrase and make sure that you secure the seed phrase with a metal backup and move everything over. Evelyn?
Yeah, hi everybody. I have a quick question, Booth. Because of the instability of the US Treasury note or dollar, whatever you want to call it, and if you have your money in USDC, do you recommend that we transfer it to Bitcoin?
So the reason why, okay, it depends on for what reason you have USDC, right? For instance, I have USDC because I want the price. I'm expecting a recession to come and the price of assets to drop, right? If you want to do that, you can still hold USDC, or you can hold BUSD. Those two are okay. I would say USDC is out of the woods now because their bank has been saved, and I think they moved their funds to another bank. But I would say whatever stable coin you use, that USDC or BUSD, you have to be on the lookout for the vulnerabilities of that one. My rule is this: if I'm holding a stable coin and the stable coin depegged by 5%, I'm moving to BTC, because BTC can catch up 5-10% my loss very easily. But if you are holding stable coins, expecting the recession to hit and the price to go down, and you get BTC at a discount price, I would say you can still hold USDC or BUSD, whatever other stable coin, and just keep an alert on it. Like I would go to CoinGecko and set an alert for when it's 96, 97 cents depegged, and then you can be notified when the pegging is there. But I would say anything besides Bitcoin right now has some level of risk. And if you are taking that risk because you want to have some gain, which is, for instance, my case, I would say there's no pain, no gain, right? No risk, no gain. So I think it depends on individual person, like each person to decide, do I want to take the risk to buy it again at a lower price, or I want to just forget about it and buy everything now? Because if the recession does come in the next 6 months to a year, the price of the asset can potentially collapse by 50%, 40%. So even if you move that money to BTC, you've got to make sure that you do not need that money for, let's say, 4 or 5 years, because there's going to be a lot of volatility on the price of that asset for that period. So I think it depends on person to person. Like if you can put your money there and not need it for the next 4 or 5 years or even more, I would say, okay. But if it's money that you may need in the next 2 or 3 years, I would still hold in some kind of stables and just keep my alert on it. Does it make sense?
Yes. And my other thing that I was thinking about is since San Salvador has a pretty stable economy, would it be worth it to perhaps transfer some of the funds into whatever they are accepting as currency?
You mean like having an accounting, like a bank account in El Salvador?
Yeah.
Okay, so El Salvador is pretty safe in terms of as long as what Bukele is doing. However, my only concern, and I hope I'm wrong about this, my only concern is the IMF. I don't think the IMF is done with El Salvador. So I'm not sure how much Bukele is going to be able to stand his ground once, because the same way that US sanctioned Russia, I think the IMF is going to come after El Salvador. They're not going to let this slide without a fight, though. And I don't think we have seen the fight yet of the IMF on El Salvador. It could never happen, it could never come, but that is my biggest question mark with El Salvador right now in terms of the banking system. How long will it be before the IMF really comes after them, you know?
Yes, I thought about that. So then my other thing is, if you, right now we're at the status quo. I think that everything is holding its own from what I'm seeing. Correct me if I'm wrong. So being things as they are right now, with the caveat to keep an eye on the USDC, the best thing would be to wait until BTC starts to come down, because it's going to come down with the markets going to crash. And then put all of your money into the BTC as the sure currency at that particular time. What do you think?
I think that's the same strategy that I'm doing. I don't recommend for everyone. Again, I don't want anyone to copy trade what I'm doing, or if someone else is doing. It depends on each person. But I know you, and we have had calls, I'll say, because I know you a bit more, like, because you are a client of mine as a client as well. So I know you enough to know that I know what you are doing. So I think for you, that would work, Evelyn. And again, this
Okay.
is something that I'm responding to Evelyn. Do not copy trade, guys. It's very dangerous. It's not recommended for anyone to do that. I do what I do, and I know the price and the consequence of my choice. You're going to be aware of the consequences of your choice. If you want to get more information as to make such decisions, feel free to book a call, and then I can discuss case by case. I'm giving a response which is for the case of Evelyn, because I know her. We have been working together for almost 2 years now. So, yeah.
Thank you, Booth.
Thank you, Evelyn. And go ahead, Sugar. I think you have a question. Go for it.
Last question. Okay. Other than Treasure, is that the only one that you, since I haven't spoken to you in months, so I think it's been like 5-6 months. Is that the only wallet, cold storage wallet, that you're happy with at this moment? Is there anything else that's come out? Or you said you had something new, but I think it's still Treasure, right? So
okay, so here's what happens. There are other wallets that I'm familiar with and I would endorse. The issue that I have with other wallets is that they are not beginners level wallet, right? So to me, like, if you are new to the space, Trezor is the best wallet in terms of like for beginners. So to me, it's like this. We have step 1, 2, 3 wallets, right? Let's say Trezor is level 1. Ledger may be still on level 1. The only other wallet that I would feel comfortable recommending, they are on level 4 in terms of sophistication. So meaning, if you enter at your point of entry and you try to get this wallet, that it's very likely that you're going to lose your funds because you're going to lock yourself out of it. The other thing with the more secure wallets, they're only Bitcoin. They don't accept any other cryptocurrencies. So now there is a little issue that I'm starting to research with Trezor, which is on the company side, they're having partnerships that I think are not good partnerships on my view. And I have been thinking about what are the consequences of those partnerships. I'm going to make a video about this, but the issue is they're partnering with Wasabi, which is a company, and Wasabi has a partnership with Coin Analysis. Now, the issue is not so much them with Wasabi, but the Wasabi with Coin Analysis. And what they're doing is chain analysis, they're trying to tie identity to wallets. So there's this company that tries to tie identity to wallets. There is Wasabi that is a partner with that company, and there's Trezor having a partnership with that company. So there's like a two-way there. Now, if I recommend Trezor as a point of entry wallet, most people that I know, they have BTC from the exchange, which means they already have their identity attached to their crypto. So there's nothing that this partnership with Trezor would change on that spectrum, right? So I still continue to endorse for the beginner level Trezor. And there are a few tricks you can do as you become sophisticated to escape and to neutralize the worst case scenario of this partnership. Now, once you are in the crypto space, let's say 2 years, 3 years, and you're very sophisticated, and you're now pretty much comfortable using a wallet on the level 4, then I can start to recommend level 4 wallets for you. Now, wallets that I would never recommend are wallets that contain one of those three things. A wallet shall not have a camera. A wallet shall not have NFC, which is contactless, right? So no camera, no NFC. And there was another thing that I forgot. Bluetooth. So a wallet should not have Bluetooth, a wallet should not have NFC, and a wallet should not have a camera. So because all of those are vulnerability points to be exploited when you have a wallet. So I cannot sleep at night recommending a wallet that has either of those things. So for now, Trezor, I continue to endorse Trezor. If one day becomes an issue, I'm going to be the first one to make a video and come to you guys and say, listen, Trezor, because I don't run Trezor. I'm not part of the board members of Trezor, and they make a decision that is putting them in a situation where they're no longer in alignment with my values. I accept that. So for today, I do endorse Trezor, and the day that I find an issue that I can no longer endorse Trezor, I'll be the first one to make a video and say, listen, no longer Trezor. But I don't also feel comfortable saying, do not use Trezor without being able to point people to another direction. So like, but so far, Trezor is the wallet that, especially after this thing with Ledger now, I would say Trezor continues to be the one that I would endorse for the beginners level.
And Trezor, again, just like Ledger, you want to be mindful of your seed phrase. It doesn't matter if the device gets lost or stolen. Again, it's all about your seed phrase, correct?
Yes.
Right.
The only property you would have is seed phrase. There is no other property that you're going to have in the crypto space. And here's one thing I want to share with you guys. Just give me a second.
Okay.
Eventually, you want to get to this level, right? Which I think is what you guys are. Eventually, you want to have metal backups. You want to have this, or the equivalent. You need to have a metal backup eventually. Yeah. Yep. All right. Welcome. No, I think we came to the end of the hour now on. Yeah. Yep.
Yes, we are a few minutes over time. Yeah.
Okay. So thank you guys. I think something in the chat. Let me see.
No, it was just
Oh,
Paul. He's going.
Oh, thank you guys for being here. Sugar, Mia's gonna be contacting you for
Yeah, I just
appointment.
got a message.
Yeah, appreciate you all being here. Thank you very much. Thank you, Ross, for being here. Thank you, everyone. See you guys. Some of you are gonna see tomorrow. Some of you guys will see next week. Thank you.
Thank you both.
Bye.
Thank you. Bye.
Thank you.